Hello, good afternoon. You're welcome to News Hour live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. We're also live on GTV and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Micheline Taka. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon for the news. As at March 31, 2022, deadline for the SIM re-registration draws closer. Most subscribers continue to besiege the various registration centers of the telcos to complete the registration process. This has generated long queues, a situation that has attracted concerns as possible areas for the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. On GTV Breakfast Show, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Telecommunications Chamber, Dr. Kenneth Sube, said, although the National Communications Authority is initiating institutional registration to ease congestion at the centers, the app being used will be upgraded to allow subscribers to register from their homes.
You are seeing people come to these centers and they don't do the star 404 hash before they come. So you have to go through that process again. And all of these are adding on to the congestion that we are seeing at the places. But we believe that with all of these measures and more that we are going to put in place, we should be able to resolve some of the challenges that we're seeing. On Thursday, a new update went live. And we hope that that would be able to deal with some of the challenges we have with syncing offline and all of that. And so today is the first working day since that update went live. So we're asking all our agents to download the latest update. And hopefully that would all be able to resolve the challenge for us. Some of these things, it will take a bit of time to do. The technology one, we're hoping that with the update that has been done, it would be able to take, improve the speed at which the SIM registrations are done. But in terms of the number of centers that have been done, we need to increase and ramp up the communication, education, and let people know that there are other places apart from, the telcos, offices that they can go to, that anywhere that they go to, some of these retail shops and distributor shops where they see SIM card registration done here, it means they will be able to go there. On a constant basis, we'll have meetings with this technical committee taking feedback. So I'm sure with all the data that is being taken and the fact that the ministry themselves are pushing to ensure that a lot more people have access to telecommunication, not to rather deny anybody, so that if the Ghana card is not available by March, and then if there are difficulties, I am pretty sure that that decision will be taken one.
On Monday morning, applicants queuing for the Ecowas card or Ghana card at the NIA's Wejagbawe Municipal Office complained bitterly over what they called a cumbersome process. The applicants, some of whom had gone to form queues since 10 p.m. yesterday, Sunday, accused the officials of favoritism. These applicants include those now applying for the Ghana card, those coming for their cards, and those whose cards cannot be electronically captured by the telcos for the SIM card re-registration exercise. However, officials at the office who spoke off camera on grounds of anonymity accused the applicants in the queue of listing their names and those of their family and friends who are not present to undertake the exercise. This, they say, delays the process. They also said registration at the office is between 8 a.m. and 12 noon, while issuance of cards is between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. each day.
I'm seriously suspecting a foul play, because if I have 31, like I'm saying, and the 50 number is on, they have the 50 number already. They have the number they are looking for, and I still have my number. What happened? Who replaced me?
From 2019 up to date, I didn't reach, even at all. I went to Shashi 2 times. They said they will send the card to them, the place where I make the card. But since then, they didn't do it for me. Then now I came here, they say 1 o'clock. This is my problem. I've been working, I pay a lot of money for transportation.
I have 6 children in my house. So if I leave all of the 6 children and come and spend the night here, who will take care of those in the house for me? So if the machine is disturbing them, they should bring backup for them so that it will help us.
Ghana Karena Fio, oh, Kashi be a man at 3 o'clock. 8 o'clock, if I came 50 easy. If I won't qualify, I say, get back police station. No what to lie, no what fake. Won't qualify.
We are solely abeda hand 12 o'clock. Woba, yes, ye book 50. 50 na ye book me di number 10. Nasa answer me swa. Me perceive me be some omo ye jumane say. One no de ye book omo. Omo book area no so obi ba na ye di na wurem yes protocol.
Chene nye wo hwe abi abatan abi enyam abachelechi. Nye nyina na amwa ntuma nhyese bi ebeboa. Wo bon pampam ntokwa na de no. Wo me nhyese ni na mwa nyina nsa na amwa pa.
My baba da 10 o'clock p.m. Na diachi and tontuma me pay almost say on my baby area on my book enipa 50. Just a me 31. What's a monya mammy? Na what's a monya mammy? Menya day.
Ubeto aba. Say be nipa 5 o'clock. Na say nipa na mo obi anto aba so. Once your mom 30 minutes anka. Na dey to aba wie na man panifo na dwuma. Na omo ye esa. Say enka na ho omo kan tre.
The University Teachers Association of Ghana UTAG has called on its members in all its 15 branches across the country to withdraw teaching and related activities from today, January 10, 2022, until further notice. This, according to them, is as a result of failure by the government to address their worsening conditions of service. The president of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, Dr. Samuel Nkumban, has joined us via Zoom to explain the issues further. Hello, good afternoon, Doc. Doc, thanks so much for joining us on News Hour. We are most grateful for your time. Hearing you clearly. Can you please position yourself properly so that the line is clear? Good afternoon, Doc. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We are most grateful. Once I have him. You're watching News Hour live on GBC News and News and Governance channel now. We'll go to Ecowas shortly now. Very well. Now, Ecowas has directed all the 15 member states to close their frontiers to Mali. This is in response to the decision by Mali's military-led transition government to use 4 to 6 years to hand over power to a civilian government in that country. As part of the sanctions, all of Mali's assets in ECOWAS central banks are frozen, while ambassadors of all ECOWAS member states in Mali are to be withdrawn. These measures are meant to compel the military-led administration to return the country to civilian rule.
The authority decide to uphold the initial sanction already imposed on Mali and on the transition authorities. The authority also decide to impose additional sanctions, economic and financial sanctions, in conformity with its deliberation at the 60th Ordinary Session held on 12 December 2021 in Abuja, Federal Republic of Nigeria. These additional sanctions include: first, the withdrawal of ambassadors of all ECOWAS member states in Mali. Second, closure of land and air border between ECOWAS member countries and Mali. Third, suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Mali, with the exception of the following products: essential food product, pharmaceutical product, medical supply and equipment, including material for the control of COVID-19, petroleum product, and electricity. 4. Freeze of assets of the Republic of Mali in ECOWAS central banks. 5. Freeze of assets of the Malian state and the state enterprises and parastatal in all commercial banks. Finally, the suspension of Mali from all financial assistance and transaction from all financial institutions in ECOWAS region. The authority instructs all community institutions to take steps to implement this sanction, which will have immediate effect. The sanction will be gradually lifted only after an acceptable and agreed chronogram is finalized and satisfactory progress is realized in the implementation of the chronogram for the election. Those sanctions have been put in place to facilitate the process of a return to constitutional order in Mali, necessary for peace, stability, and growth. In addition, the sanctions have been designed to protect the Malian population. Furthermore, in view of the potentially destabilizing impact on Mali and on the region created by this transition in Mali, the authority decided to activate immediately the ECOWAS standby force, which will have to be ready for any eventuality.
Meanwhile, Mali has announced the recall of its ambassadors to West Africa and the closure of its borders with its ECOWAS neighbors in reaction to its embargo by West African leaders meeting in Accra on Sunday. In a televised statement, the government of Mali has strongly condemned these illegal and illegitimate sanctions, as they put it. Government spokesperson in uniform, Colonel Abdoulaye Maiga, said government of Mali regrets that West African sub-regional organizations are being manipulated by extra-regional powers with ulterior motives. The junta has also announced that it is closing its land and air borders with ECOWAS countries. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the West African Economic and Monetary Union took a battery of strong economic and diplomatic measures against Mali on Sunday to sanction the junta's intention to remain in power for several more years. The measures include a broken promise by the colonels to hold presidential and legislative elections on February 27, that would have put civilians in charge of the country. Today, the junta says it will not be able to organize presidential and legislative elections as planned at the end of February. Citing the persistent insecurity in the country, which is plagued by all kinds of violence, it stresses the need for prior reforms so that the elections do not suffer from disputes as in previous ones. Now, to help us examine the situation between ECOWAS and Mali, we have on the line a security analyst and human rights activist, Dr. Vincent Jahili Mensah, who is also a senior lecturer at the University of Education. Hello, good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
We are most grateful for your time this afternoon. What will be your initial comment on these new stands that the ECOWAS has taken on Mali?
I will say that one is regrettable because it is good for ECOWAS to speak tough and to try to take important actions against Mali to ensure that there is a return to democratic rule. But it's unfortunate and regrettable because of the particular situation that we have in Mali, because Mali is a restless country which is suffering from conflict, is suffering from climate change, is suffering from sectarian violence, and we know that part of the reasons for the coup was an attempt by the then president, to interfere with parliamentary election results in April 2020, and the protests that resulted from that. So if you look at the conditions in Mali and the response from the regional countries is to say we are imposing sanctions on you, you say that this is regrettable. But there is a fundamental point that I think the ECOWAS leaders need to consider, which is the claim the junta made. I don't support military rule under any circumstance, and I will not support it in the future. But the junta made an important point that they prefer quality over speed, which is an important point to consider, because as Julius Malema said, democracy is not only about elections. Even the quality of the elections matter. If you look at the dynamics in Mali at the moment now, you see that about more than 7 million of the population live in areas affected by conflict. About 5 million are facing challenges with food insecurity, and those in need of humanitarian assistance are about 6 million. That takes you to about 18 million of the population in unstable conditions, leaving just about 3 million of the population in stable conditions. So even if you want to have elections under those conditions, I think that there's a point that the junta has that the ECOWAS leaders need to consider.
Very well. Now, he is saying that they've also closed their borders to ECOWAS member countries. Can you briefly take us through the effect this could have on West Africa?
Thank you. I think that is an important point also to note. You see, I would suggest to African leaders that they look for an African approach to African problems. You see, this practice of copying from the textbook of sanctions that are mainly Western diplomatic tools need to be taken a second look at, because if you see the situation now, you have withdrawn ambassadors from Mali. Mali has withdrawn ambassadors from your countries. What is left, as the ECOWAS Secretary General said, if you decide that you have a stabilization force in Mali and maybe even force the military rulers out of power, you should know that you need that country's military in the efforts of state building, and we can see the catastrophic failures in Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, and Somalia, and all those places. So obviously that path is not going to help, because now the effect is that Mali is speaking tough, ECOWAS is speaking tough. And ECOWAS, you remember that recently we just heard that Mali is working with Russia to end the conflict. They have invited Russian commandos, although there are diplomatic interpretations to that, to help them. The country is in crisis and they will be looking for bigger powers. ECOWAS should know that if you take even just 2019, U.S. assistance to Mali was up to $135 million. In 2021, it was up to in 2020, it was up to 146 million, and then in 2021, it was up to 133 million. So if you have big countries supporting Mali behind the scenes, Mali is not going to take ECOWAS seriously. And there's one example ECOWAS has to note. If you look at sanctions against Belarus in the European Union, you will understand the dynamics that are unfolding. What if Mali decides to disregard everything? What will ECOWAS do? There will be danger, and we should understand that the declaration now has created a conflict situation in which ECOWAS has become complicit in the Malian conflict. So if Mali closes its borders to other countries and other countries close their border to Mali, then you have created a situation where the negotiations that even the junta seeks is not going to be able to work. So what door? Is every door being closed? Not really. There will still be mediators working around the clock. But I think that ECOWAS needs to find a way of working with Mali to resolve the situation rather than the tough approach that we are using. If you look at the situation in Hungary, in Poland, and the way the EU is handling those situations, you see that they really understand how to implement this sanctions regime. If you look at the sanctions against the leadership in Belarus, it's targeted towards people, particular people, not targeted towards the country's own economic collapse. But what ECOWAS, the type of sanctions ECOWAS is imposing, is targeted towards the country's very existence. When that happens, you mobilize the citizens with the military rulers to resist. And when that happens, you create a very difficult situation for yourself. So I think that it's an important thing that ECOWAS takes steps to ensure that member countries live by the code of ethics. But it shouldn't also be that we are just interested in just any kind of election being held. I mean, if you ask Mali to hold elections tomorrow, they can hold elections tomorrow. But the question is, what kind of election will it be? If it's going to be a charade, then there is no need for an election, because that is not democracy. Democracy is not just about elections. It's also about quality of life of people, equality of participation. It's about respect for human rights. So it is important that we consider some of these factors so people don't think that ECOWAS leaders are just a club of people who are interested in charade of elections, and then that is it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajahili. We are most grateful. According to Dr. Ajahili, ECOWAS should reconsider its stance and think more of the quality of the elections they are calling for as against the speed and the stance it is holding now. We will go back to the UTAG story where the University Teachers Association of Ghana has called on its members in all its 15 branches across the country to withdraw teaching and related activities from today, January 10, 2022. I have on the line the President of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, Dr. Samuel Nkuban, who is joining us via Zoom. Hello, good afternoon, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to our viewers. Thank you.
Why has UTAG taken this stance again?
Thank you very much. It's got to do with the government's attitude of not responding to UTAG's needs in relation to our deplorable conditions of service, for which we've been at negotiations since the year 2019. And so if you recall, last year we had to embark on an industrial action for some reason, and given that we wanted also to help with our completing the academic year and so on and so forth, we suspended this industrial action, and the government was going to deal with certain concerns UTAG had by close of December. Unfortunately, December is ended, and those timelines have elapsed, and government has not engaged with us, and that is the basis.
So, I mean, did you go back to the table? Have you spoken with the matters that the powers that matter, or it is just because they haven't addressed the issues that were on table and the deadline has elapsed, and so you have called on your members to go on a strike action?
Reality is that, like I said, we've been at this since 2019, and we've not had any meaningful engagement in relation to getting an improved conditions of service. Our agreement with the government was that if by close of December it was not possible to engage us on the basis of the current labor market survey, which they have completed, then we should be restored to the 2013 interim market premium levels, so as to as an interim that they needed to do in order to implement a market premium that is meaningfully constituted and would improve our conditions above the 2013 levels. Now, to situate the reason for which this has to happen, clearly, following the implementation of the single spine pay policy, some category of workers were given an interim market premium. These are categories of workers that were identified as having critical skills and yet in short supply. University teachers were one of those, and we were given an interim market premium of 114% of basic salary. So the understanding is that if you are given a basic, an allowance that is tied to the basic salary, on annual basis, if base pay increases, that allowance would also go up, obviously. 2013 government issued a white paper to indicate that because it needed to conduct a labor market survey to determine a proper market premium, they were putting a freeze to that interim market premium. So from 2013 until now, the interim market premium of 114% stood frozen at the base rate of 2013. So if it were going along with annual increments, I am sure we would have been better off. And because of that, if you were to do a true analysis of our current interim market premium as against our current base pay, we have lost over 50% of what we should have been earning as interim market premium. And so we are simply indicating that given your inability from 2013 until date to compute this labor market survey and determine a market premium, restore us to 114% of basic salary currently as an interim measure whilst we proceed to look at what you have on the table by way of the current labor market survey. Now, added to this is also the question of research. The point is that a university teacher's promotion, and for that matter, the person's condition of service, is hinged on research outputs. And as we speak, our research allowance for the entire year is 1,500 Ghana cedis, which we say is woefully inadequate. Government proposed a roadmap of increasing the research allowance by 1,000 cedis for the last academic year and taking it to 6,000 this academic year, to 8,000 the next academic year, and CD equivalent of 1,600 in 2014. General membership is indicating to government that this is certainly inadequate to be able to conduct meaningful research that would inure to the benefit of publications in high-impact journals, as well as making our universities and country visible. And it is the basis upon which universities are ranked. And possibly the reason for which many South African universities rank better than us, because if you were to publish a paper in a high-impact journal, you are paid for doing so. And those are the things for which we are asking government to take a second look at the research component of our condition of service as well.
All that you say are relevant, and to the layperson, we feel it should be the demands you are making should be given. Why hasn't there been a solution to all that you're demanding for?
Well, of course, we've been engaging government, and the mantra is, given the timelines we had, which is December ending, November 11, we had a National Executive Committee meeting at which we served notice that these timelines that we gave to ourselves should be abided by. And 20th December, 24th December, we sent reminder notices to our stakeholders on the side of government that December is at the tail end. And we've not been formally called to the table for any further engagement, except for the fact that government says there's no money to pay. Everyone else in those meetings say that what UTAG is asking for is not outrageous. And so if what we are asking for is not outrageous, and you are not making proposals in terms of what you can afford to give us for consideration, but rather to ask us where we expect that the money will come from, was suggestive to us that there is no negotiation ongoing. And that was what even led to the initial strike of the last year. And also, of course, what has happened is that from November through December, the notices that we have given to government that if by December ending we are not getting any better conditions of service, we will go on strike in January. We have not had any formal call-up by any of those government stakeholders to engage. And that is where we find ourselves.
The call is still further notice. How is this going to impact on academic life, especially because we are reeling from COVID-19, from the long break from COVID-19? Very
much so that the COVID-19 pandemic already disrupted our academic calendar. you would agree that first semester usually will start in August. And so first semester for this academic year should have started August last year. But for the pandemic and also the industrial action of last year, we are beginning the academic year January. And so if government does not respond quickly to avert the disruption of the semester, then of course we are going to have a situation where the academic calendar is going to be disrupted again. And of course, the implication would be that there probably would come a time when there will be a backlog, as happened in 1995 with the UTAG strike that lasted 9 months. And so if, for example, this academic year, we are unable to resolve the matters and the year runs out, and then the next batch of students who are supposed to be entering the university cannot get into the university, then of course they will have to stay home for 1 year at least before they can enter the university. And that was what happened in the year 1995. And I'm
Let's
not sure
pray we don't get there. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time. I was speaking with the president of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, Dr. Samuel Nkubang. Our correspondent, Rachel Korte, has visited some campuses in Accra to assess activities following this strike. Hello, good afternoon, Rachel.
Good afternoon.
Which campuses did you visit and what can you report?
Okay, I first visited the University of Ghana main campus at Legon. When we got there, we realized that fresh students have started their registration and continuing students will resume lectures in few days, I learned. Now, we spoke with one of the continuing students who confirmed that the UTAG strike has been communicated to them. But since they will resume lectures officially in few days' time, they are yet to see the effects of the strike. Now, efforts is made to speak with the school authorities because the public affairs director was in a meeting. From the University of Ghana, we continue to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, North Jowlu campus. That's their new campus. Here, school officially has reopened today, same day that the UTAG strike is supposed to take effect. And on campus, both fresh students and then the continuing students were going through registration. We went ahead to speak with the head of public affairs unit of the school, Mr. Daniel Makato, who said that they have duly communicated the UTAG strike with the students already. He also said that no lectures have been put on hold due to the strike. They hope that with the ongoing dialogue between UTAG and then the authorities, the strike will be called off very soon and then classes will resume.
Thank you very much.
Currently we are at the Accra Technical University, where students are also going through registration, but they are yet to resume lectures.
Thank you.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Speaking with our correspondent, Rachel Korte, who is out and about at the various universities in Accra to assess the situation following the strike action by UTAG. Away from UTAG strike, the Financial and Economic Court Division of the Accra High Court has adjourned to January 25, 2022, a case involving a former chief executive of the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, Maslock, Mrs. Sedina Ationu, and Mr. Daniel Exim, former operations manager of Maslock. The two are being tried for willfully causing financial loss to the state over 78 charges.
When the case was called for hearing on Monday, January 10, 2022, Mr. Kwesi Agbesi Jakpasu, counsel for Mrs. Ationu, informed the court that his client was seeking medical attention outside the country. He, however, told the court he neither knows the current health status of his client nor her current address abroad. The state, represented by the principal state attorney, Madam Stella Ohini-Appiah, argued that from the look of things, the lawyers for Mrs. Tamaklo Ationu are not aware when she would return to the country. She added that the accused is avoiding trial. She therefore prayed the court to try Mrs. Tamaklo Ationu in absentia, since the case is a criminal one. The court, presided over by Justice Ifeasewa Asari-Botwe, in her ruling adjourned the case to January 25, 2022, pending an update on the status of the first accused. The two accused persons, former Chief Executive Officer of Maslock, Mrs. Sedinam Tamaklo Ationu, and Mr. Daniel Axim, former Operations Manager, have been charged with 78 counts, which include stealing, willfully causing financial loss to the state, money laundering, causing loss to public property, improper payment of public funds, unauthorized commitment resulting in financial obligation for the government, and contravention of the Public Procurement Act. With reference to the charges, the total sum involved is estimated at 93 million Ghana cedis. The two were granted bail to the tune of 5 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties and 1 million cedis with 1 surety, respectively.
The Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana has proposed a 40% increment in transport fares from Monday, January 17, 2022. The group says the upward adjustment has been necessitated by the economic hardship that drivers face in the country due to the increase in prices of fuel. The Public Relations Officer of the association, Mr. David Abuagdo, earlier explained to GBC News the reasons for the increment.
We were in agreement with government. We sat down with government to talk about what will help us to maintain our prices where it was. But yes, still nothing, or it doesn't avail. We talked to government. Chief of Staff came in. We sat down. We talked with Giorgio. But as I'm talking to you now, there is nothing good come out from that. 40% of our increment has come off from the things that we are using for our product, the product that we are using for our business, like the fuel, the lubricant, the cost of a car, and then the spare parts that we are buying. That warrant us to, come out with this statement that on Monday, 17th January 2022, we'll increase our fare by 40%. For our sister operators like GPRO and other things, we call them, but we all doesn't come to one compromisation that we should go this direction. We are still in talking terms. We have 7 days to go from today. We will come out with a final verdict on it. Either it will still remain in the 40%, or either we'll increase it to 50%, or we'll come back by 30%. As I'm talking to you now, the taxes alone that have been slashed on the commodities that we say they should strike off, like price stabilization and recovery levy, energy sector levy, all have been increased. Some have been increased upwards like 333%, some are 95%, some are 45%. All of these are government charges that went up like that. And it is in the budget that government have brought to us. If it's accepted, it will all come to us, we, the transport community. That's why we say the 40% is good and can sustain us in the business.
A state-sponsored initiative to equip media practitioners with knowledge in various specialized areas of journalism has been launched at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi, the Asantehene, Otumfuo 32, while emphasizing the critical role of the media in informing society and getting feedback to the government. The same channel could be used to mobilize disgruntled members of society to destabilize the state. He therefore encouraged professionalism among journalists. Our correspondent Nicholas Osewusu was at the launch of the program and has joined us on phone to give us more. Hello, good afternoon, Nicholas.
Good afternoon.
What other issues came up at the launch of this program?
The Asantehene also indicated that Ghana, we have given specific attention or increased attention to the 3 main arms of government, but there seems to be a low national interest in the development of the capacity of the media, and nobody seems to care about it just because nobody finances or funds the activities of the media, whether they are remuneration or whatever. So the attention in the media is very low, and that from now we must also begin to think of what is happening. He also made a statement to the effect that what happened at the beginning and the end of the first year of the 8th Parliament is something that is very serious. We should not gloss over. We should all think of how, what caused some of these things and find a solution that will ensure that this thing never reoccur in the history of Ghana, because it is putting our national institutions, the democratic and constitutional institutions, it is stretching them at this particular time, that we should not take for granted what has happened, and that we must do well to ensure that it doesn't reoccur, such that it must affect our democracy. That is one of the critical issues raised by the Asantehene, apart from the fact that he said the media, the asset of the media is its credibility, and that if we dwell too much on blatant untruths or inaccurate information, it hurts the credibility of the media that makes society repose so much trust in us. And so we must try to guard against some of these things. The National Media Commission chairman also spoke, and he also indicated that the commission has been receiving increased number of complaints, especially from traditional leadership in the country, about some breaches or some infractions on the traditions and cultures of the country or society, and that the Media Commission is going to consult with the Asantehene to find a way of curbing some of these things and to foresaw these breaches. Then there were also messages by some media-related organizations. The PINPAG had their president there, GIBA had their president, IPR also had its president there. They all spoke. Then, of course, the president of the National Ghana Journalists Association, Mr. Afemoni, also made mention of the fact that we need to look at critically the remuneration and the money or funds that go to support media activities in the country. This he made very emphatically. He made that point. Then also we had a Minister for Information who also spoke about how this initiative has come this far, that the Media Capacity Enhancement Program, how it came about, and that for this year alone, the program is expecting to benefit or train or equip 250 media practitioners to improve on their capacities and competencies to deliver to their optimal best. Then the Asantehene, as I've already indicated. For this particular first batch of the beneficiary participants, they are going to spend 5 days. So the program is going to end on Thursday. If nothing happens, by Thursday it will end, and they will depart the following day to their various destinations.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. We are most grateful. Speaking with our Shanti Regional Correspondent, Nicholas Efsewusu, who just reported from a state-sponsored initiative to equip media practitioners with knowledge in various specialized areas of journalism, which was launched at the Mensha Palace in Kumasi. You're watching News Hour live on GBC News. Time to take a break to make way for business. Do stay.
You're still watching NewsHour. This is Business, and my name is Esther Eidu Ohumeu. For the second time, the Ghana Revenue Authority has deferred the implementation of the reversal of the benchmark values on selected items. The latest directive to hold on with the implementation was sanctioned by President Nana Akufo-Addo last Saturday. The directive has been applauded by the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA. But then, how does it look like in the view of experts? Chief Executive of the Ghana International Trade and Finance Conference, Mr. Selassie Akom, will speak to us on this issue. Good afternoon, Selassie.
Good afternoon to you, madam, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers.
Okay, Selassie, this is the second directive calling on the GRA to hold on with the implementation. Do you foresee the implementation coming on anytime soon?
Well, thank you very much. I think this entire brouhaha is not in the interest of government. See, let me take your viewers back this afternoon to a brief genesis of how come the economic management team of our dear nation came by this benchmark policy in 2019. And this was done in accordance with the World Customs Organization's policy to review the evaluation and the database. Government was very emphatic that under this policy, certain commodities should be benchmarked to the prevailing world prices as a risk management team to reflect the true market dynamics of these commodities that were benchmarked. This policy also took into consideration factors such as protection of the environment, security, and protection of local industry. I repeat, protection of local industry. This was part of effort to reduce the menace of smuggling and to make the country's ports more competitive and attractive, and to increase volumes and transactions and raise income, revenue back into government's kitty for national development. As far back as 2019, fast forward to 2020, 2021, now in 2022. 50% of the benchmark value of almost 40 commodities were taken off. 30% of vehicles, by benchmark value on vehicle custom clearance at the port was taken off. My dear sister, to your viewers, can anybody tell GBC, that the purchasing or the street value of these commodities had seen any reductions over the period? Have you seen reduction of sugar? Have you seen reduction of rice, of palm oil, of toiletries, of chocolate, even mosquito coil? Have you seen reduction? So the entire policy that was directed at reflecting into the packet of the ordinary Ghanaian and making Ghana to raise necessary revenue for national development was shortchanged or have been shortchanged over the period, and a few people within the trading community were pocketing these huge profits at the detriment of the entire economy of Ghana and the entire citizens of Ghana. This was not the way to go. This is not the way to go. We need to come back to the reality, especially in the era where every finance minister and economy in the world and on Africa are looking at main ways and means in maximizing resources to finance expenditure. We cannot keep on making some few people richer in our economy at the detriment of every Ghanaian and government revenue. No. So we believe, and we at the Ghana International Trade and Finance Conference are about writing to the office of the president within the next few days that immediately the benchmark value to be reversed. To be reversed because we need to raise revenue as a country. We need to stop making a few persons within the trading community richer. And already the goods on the market are already at the same price. Okay. And in some instances, even increased. Is this the way forward?
Okay, Selassie.
No.
I'm afraid we'll have to leave the interview here. We'll be talking to you more on this. That was Selassie Akom, the Chief Executive of GITFIX, speaking to us on the benchmark values. And moving on, the African Export and Import Bank has identified sectors such as industry, energy, mining and agriculture as drivers of an increase of 30% under intra-Africa trade during the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
In the agriculture sector, subsectors to benefit most from the 30% intra-African trade increase are milk and dairy products, processed food, cereals, crops and sugar. In industry, the sectors with the most potential are wood and paper products, chemical, rubber, plastic and pharmaceutical products, vehicles and transport equipment, metals and other manufactured products. In energy and mining, there is scope for refined oil exports. According to a survey conducted by Afrexim Bank, in terms of services trade, intra-African trade would increase by over 50% for financial, business and communication services, by around 50% for tourism and transport, and by just over a third for health and education. Nonetheless, the opportunities for trade in both education and health services should not be ignored. This has become imperative following the COVID-19 pandemic, which has further exposed the need for Africa to strengthen its own production and trade capacities in health and education. According to the World Bank, the AFCFTA would significantly boost African trade, particularly intra-regional trade in manufacturing. The volume of total exports would increase by almost 29% by 2035. Intra-continental exports would also increase by over 81%, while exports to non-African countries would rise by 19%. Exports to AFCFTA partners would rise speedily, especially for Cameroon, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia and Ghana, with exports doubling. Of the real sectors of the economy, the manufacturing sector is expected to gain the most with 62% increment in production activities, followed with modest gains in the services sector and smaller gains in agriculture. The AFCFTA agreement will create the largest free trade area in the world, measured by the number of countries participating. The pact connects 1.3 billion people across 55 countries with a combined GDP valued at $3.4 trillion.
Let's have the interbank and commodity figures for the day.